All right, welcome back everyone to the 2020 Vision podcast. Today I have here with me the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Trey Baker. How are you today, sir?
Good. What's going on, family? Good to be here with y'all today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hopping on, man. Listen, y'all, it has been a long 4 years. Let me just tell you, this college experience, as we both know, has been such a long journey. So much has happened, A lot of people talk about college, being a one-sided thing, but I think the best thing about attending HBCU for both of us and also people who attend HBCUs is that there's so many different sides to it, right? You have your academic side, you have your social side, you have the side of, trying to figure out who you are as a person, leaving stuff back home and going through all the emotions as a college student. So, to start off, Trey, let's actually, matter of fact, before we do that, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? And tell the people who you are. Most people already know since we had a lot of impact on campus. But for those who don't, tell them who you are and then we'll get started.
For sure. So what's up, everybody? Trajan Baker. I go by Trey. You can call me Trey or Trajan. I'm currently a grad student at Hampton University in the architecture program. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an artist. So I like to do a lot of creative work. And I appreciate my guy, Wes, for asking me to be on today.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for hopping on now. If we look at the course of everything that's happened at Hampton, for most of you that go to Hampton, for most of the things that have happened, the name Trey Baker pops up in a lot of different areas. And that's something that, is inspiring in a way because it's not just an on-campus thing. It's an off-campus thing. It's national, at this point. And many people that talk about it, one of the biggest things we have to talk about is adversity, right? And when you talk about adversity, you talk about the things that you're going through, what people say about you, what people, perceive about you, how we look at ourselves as individuals in the mirror. And for a lot of you listening, we talked about this on previous episodes, is looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, how do I perceive myself to the world and how does the world perceive me? Right. So for you and your experience as an undergrad and now, in your fifth year, how do you feel adversity has played into your life? So let's start off saying, what's your definition of adversity? How do you feel it's played into your college career, and how have you been able to overcome it?
Right. Yeah, I feel like adversity, everybody goes through it. Adversity is something that we can either crumble from or rise above. And the difference with a lot of people is how they face that adversity and how they view it. I feel like everything is about perspective. So when something difficult comes into your life, something unforeseen, something that you wanted to go another way, but it didn't, how are you looking at that? Because there's opportunity within every defeat. There's opportunity within every loss. So that's how I deal with adversity. And I use it as moments to grow, moments to self-reflect. Try not to be spiteful and harbor things because that just subtracts energy from yourself. It doesn't really hurt the other person. So I've been learning that a lot. Since being at Hampton, like you said, it's a lot to deal with and focus on as a student. We have so many different things that we're juggling. And so when adversity comes along the way, we have to meet that challenge. And for me, it's just allowed me to grow more and more. I feel like I've just faced adversity just through campus involvement and dealing with different key players here and there, just having to meet them to a place where we can move forward. And again, not just harboring on anything.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I absolutely agree. And one of the things that people say all the time is that college, it's like being on a football team, right? When you have a football team, you have two sides, and college is the game that you're playing. The two sides are, the side that you perceive, to be the world, and then what the world perceives to be of you.
Right.
So when you talk about adversity and going through those different things, I often think about how people, react to certain situations and how they allow, certain emotions to take over their life. And I think one of the things to point out that's important is not allowing to adversity, to define who you are, right? And, you start college as a freshman, you don't know what you're doing. For us, starting on COVID, and for a lot of people who lost, that year during COVID, that was a lot, dealing with the struggles of figuring out who you were, coming back to campus, starting over, trying to figure out your base foundation. And it's hard when you're dealing with adversity because with the football, analogy is that you have defenders, that's your adversity coming at you. You're running an offense and trying to figure out which way that you can go. And I think it's been very difficult for a lot of people to deal with that, especially because a lot of people don't speak out, about what they're going through, right? And what I love that President Williams and Taraji P Henson did, especially today and also just over time, is the emphasis on mental health, and that's where you have to think about adversity, because adversity can play in an emotional state, it can play in a mental state, it can play in a physical state. Everything that you're putting yourself through, that can be adversity. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, this is important for you all, saying that adversity doesn't have to be a physical thing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a mental thing. Sometimes it can literally be an emotion, that you're feeling. You're feeling like, you wake up and you're feeling like you don't mean nothing to the world. You feel like you just are here, for no reason. A lot, we talk about, purpose, having a purpose to do things, talking about impact and what's your impact in this world. Right. So talking about that, I think it's safe to say, being on Hampton's campus, impact is a huge thing, right? You're impacting the people that you're around. You're impacting the new class. You're impacting the old class. You're impacting alumni, the people that come on our campus, to be kids, families, different types of organizations. So talk a little bit about your impact on campus. I know you're involved in a lot of things. So talk about how your impact has played a huge role for your college career.
Right. So involvement was key for me as a freshman student. I'm architecture. So the first thing they tell you in architecture school is, don't do anything outside of architecture. Stay in this bubble, eat, sleep, work, Demas. And I said, no, we're not going to do that, because I came to Hampton to grow across the board. I wanted to be a well-rounded individual. I was active in high school, so why would I stop now? And I was an athlete in high school. So coming to college and not taking the athlete route opened my time up to a lot more. I now had the opportunity to explore more about myself and figure out, okay, Trey, what are we really doing here? Like, what is your gift to the world? What do you have to offer? And I didn't have that question to answer when I first came to Hampton. And I barely had identified architecture. Like, that was a split moment decision. It wasn't something that was like, I'm going to be an architect one day. Like, I took a leap of faith and then I stuck with it. And it was my freshman year actually working in that same architecture studio where I started my clothing brand. And that was the explosion of my creativity. I was able to work on designs day after day. I had orders coming in, so it forced me to really refine my hands, and just being in the architecture building while I was doing that allowed me to develop that love for architecture too and design. And so then I said, how do I get involved on campus? The best way to be involved is to add value to that organization through your personal strengths and passion. So any organization I became a part of, how can I help them creatively? How can I grow myself through that organization so it doesn't feel like it's a subtraction from me? And once you do that, once you do develop that passion and love, the impact just follows. Like, you're literally just doing what you do every day. You're doing you, and the opportunities come, and then you're ready to see it. So that's how I've left my impact.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that, because when you talk about value, I think value has got to be one of the biggest components of being a college student, right? It's like, what value are you adding to your life? What value are you adding to the things that you're a part of? Being at Hampton, also my friends at other HBCUs, they talk about, like, you have to add some type of value to your life when you're in college, right? Like, what can I be a part of that's going to allow myself to make an impact on things? Whether that be starting in a program, it's like basing your foundation on value. What can I add to this? I think for most people, especially on our campus, from what I've seen, is they do a lot of things for the center of attention. And I know that attention is based on how people perceive, like, what can I get from this? What benefits me? But you have to also think about what benefits others. You know what I'm saying? The impact that we've had. And I tell people this all the time, like, having an impact, you can do pretty much anything, and it can be small, and that's having an impact. And I talk to people every day that come up to me and say, like, what can I do as a freshman? What can I do as a sophomore to be more involved, to have more impact? And I just tell them, get involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, go to things, try things, join new things. Don't be afraid, to join new stuff. Because I feel like a lot of people are afraid of failure, fear of rejection. Like, oh, they're not going to accept me. They're not going to like who I am. Well, that's why you have to try stuff, to find that stuff out. And so when you add value to those things, that allows you to add a part of yourself that you never knew before. You're finding new things about yourself, your principles, your morals, the way you live your life. That's what value means, I think, in my opinion, to help people add that. So going on to, just to impact as a whole, you've done, a lot on this campus. You talk about, on campus, off campus, nationally. So talk about, your vision for the things that you have done. We know you did the Target collection that went nationwide. We've done the student mural and the student center that, got a lot of attention from alumni and students that, people gaze by when they walk in the stu and people are inspired by. You've done a lot of different, clothing brand, collaborations, and you so talk about your vision behind those, talk about how, did you have any anxiety or fear when you were, coming up with the vision that it wouldn't, do well or succeed? And then lastly, talk about how people can kind of like be a visionary in their own lives to create something small, that might turn big.
Right. Yeah. So my ultimate vision behind anything I do is Canvas. Canvas is a platform that I came up with when I was running for Mr. Pirate, actually. But it had a lot of meaning behind it. And I was like, this platform ties back to everything that I've done since I've been at Hampton, and it's going to tie into everything that I do way into the future. Canvas stands for creating art that nurtures vision among scholars. You see, I got it back there on a canvas. I'll have to bring that into the shot. Creating art that nurtures vision among scholars. So anything that I'm creating, the mural, the Target piece, these different projects here and there is meant to inspire. I want students to feel inspired to think about their personal legacies and have the confidence to pursue what they're passionate about, because I wouldn't be anywhere if I wasn't passionate about the things that I'm doing. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me up at night. That's what wakes me up in the morning, super excited to do the next project. Like, Trey, how do you keep doing these things back to back to back? Because it doesn't feel like work. That's my passion. And I would rather be doing that than going to any party, doing anything else. So it's adding value to me, but it's also adding value to my peers. And yeah, you just got to take that first step. Like you said, dive into it, figure out what works for you, figure out what doesn't, but have that confidence. Like, at the end of the day, God placed a special gift inside of you, and you have to have Godfidence in order to execute it properly. You know what I'm saying? If you have a gift from God, why are you being timid with it? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and execute it and refine it until it's where you want it.
Yeah, and I see, in a lot of people, it's like they know what God placed in their life, but they're not willing to extend it to the fullest, opportunity. Like, people know the gift that they have, but sometimes it's the nerves and the anxiety that comes out, that they're not allowing to. And that's why, like, for me, this past year, I decided to take a look at my life and say, like, what can I do to take it, to the full extent? Like, how can I brighten up my life by impacting others? Like, that's one of the reasons why I started this platform, is because it allowed me to get to know more people and open up to people more. Because, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, like, anxiety and fear and nerves, like, that's a real thing. People go through that. Some of the biggest people in this world, have that. Like, that's just a real thing. And it's something that I feel like as a community, as a world, as a society, we don't talk about how we feel. But you have to, learn, like you said, what God put inside of you. That's supposed to be your starting foundation. You have to believe in yourself. And that's something that I struggle with a lot, like believing in myself. A lot of my mentors, a lot of my, bigs and people who really confided in me, they said, like, if you don't believe in yourself, then that other belief you're looking for is not going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? You can't expect other people to believe in yourself for you. And I feel like I did a lot of that in my college career, like waiting for things to happen, allowing myself to get caught up in, the heat of things. I didn't have enough confidence to myself to say, like, I'm here for a reason. God put me on this planet for a reason, and I'm in this position for a reason. So why waste it? And that's the biggest thing. So going to the last topic, talk a little bit, about the future, right? So, graduating college, continuing education, and also, you have kind of this foundation already set up, like, making an impact, inspiring a lot of people. So for the future, talk about kind of, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, with this already kind of vision that you have, to be great, and you've already established in so many ways. Talk about your vision for being great in the next 5 years, and then talk about how people can, kind of form their own foundation, whether they're freshman, sophomore, senior, grad student, adult in life. How can they form their own kind of vision to be successful and kind of like, block out the distractions, block out the hate, block out the adversity. It's going to come at all points, but how can they block it out so that they can stay focused on their goal?
Right. So yeah, my plan, Hampton is all about the foundation. Like, so everybody who's watching this and you're a Hampton student currently, now is the time to build your foundation. Now is the time to make mistakes, to fall down, to get back up, to figure out where you fit in the world. And it's okay. A lot of us don't know where we fit, and that's where the anxiety comes from. I feel like I'm so sure about my path now because I've seen it proven time and time again, because I wasn't afraid to execute it, because I feel this presence of God in my life. I know that I'm on the right track, and that's what gives me that level of confidence. It wasn't always there. Like I said, I thought I was coming to Hampton undecided. Anxiety comes from not being sure of what's going to happen next. And you're never going to know what exactly happens next. So you have to take that leap of faith until you become comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's really how you grow. So for me, I'm in the field of architecture, but I have this passion for art as well. Ever since I started architecture school, it's been about discovering what that blend is. My current thesis for grad school is, what is the blend between architecture and art? You know, with my future designs, like I envision myself designing a number of built projects in the future, not even on the traditional path of an architect, because I'm learning more about the profession of architecture and there's some things that don't really sit right with me. That's another discussion. But I want to be able to self-initiate projects. I don't want to wait around for a client to come to me with their vision. I'm a visionary myself, so I have to trust in that vision, come onto the scene as a developer, a real estate developer, acquire the property, raise the capital, and then I'm not hiring an architect, I'm hiring myself. And then that way I have the opportunity to infuse my art into the architecture and continuously add value to myself through that route. So that's where I kind of see myself heading. But my hands are always going to be in a lot of different creative buckets. And yeah, right after school, I plan to pursue my license. I think that sums it up. But yeah, to start your vision, understand that it's a step-by-step process. Legacy builds one step at a time. It's on the mural. That's intentional because it does. So.
Right. Yeah. And I absolutely agree. And I think, for a lot of people, the biggest thing that they can do is just, constantly be themselves, right? That's the number one component that we keep emphasizing, is be yourself, taking it from everything that's ever happened, in people's lives, being themselves. I feel like that costs you, or it actually gives you the gift of happiness, just constantly being yourself, not allowing others to, forge your path for you. I talk about that all the time because I was that person. I allowed people to literally like custom make my life, how they wanted, and I had to stop doing that. Because then at some point I just look in the mirror and say, like, what am I doing in my life? What do I want out of life by the time this college stuff is done, or by the time, the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Because we're all individual. If we weren't, then we all, we would be the same person, but we're not. And I think that's where people have to take a step back and say, let me set up the foundation, the plan for my life for the next 10 years and, figure out what it is year by year, or however people do it, month by month, year by year steps for me to be better, and I always say better version of yourself, right? Because every single year we talk about, we celebrate New Year's. We say, oh, it's a new year. I'm going to be this person this year. I'm going to be this person that year. But a lot of people don't follow up with that. So I think just giving yourself a timetable and saying, like, I'm just going to be a better version of myself, a more disciplined version of myself, a more understanding version, a better learner. I'm going to listen more, engage more. I think that's the ultimate key, to fulfillment that people are looking for.
And take a hard look at what your current routine is. Like, think about from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, how much time are you utilizing to self-improve during the day? Like, if you find yourself on social media for like hours and hours, all of that time could be going to somewhere else. And I know it's difficult. Like, I need to decompress. I need to relax. This is my go-to after a stressful day. Why is that your go-to? You know what I'm saying? 50 years ago, social media didn't even exist. Probably less than that. Definitely less than that. So what were other people doing? They were reading. They were getting in tune with nature. They were finding their love for music, dancing. Like, find that hobby that you can do to self-decompress that's also adding value to you. Like, I use social media as a tool. When I first came to Hampton, I was flicking up and trying to look good on Instagram. And like, that'll happen occasionally, but I post stuff and I leave. I turn my phone off and I go do something else. I use social media as a tool for exposure to the different projects that I'm doing, bringing more attention to. You have to document everything, especially as a creative. Like, don't be afraid to share your stuff with the world, because that's how it begins to kind of get notoriety. And I think that's how I was able to really take advantage of those situations. Like the stuff with Target, like that could have happened and I could have just let it happen and I could have never posted about it. But then I never would have gotten any of the other things from that. Like people reaching out through Instagram, hey, let's do this interview. Hey, let's do that. Let's do that. You can't disconnect yourself from it. So use social media as a tool to make sure you're utilizing 24 hours out of your day.
Yeah, and I mean it's a promotion thing. You know, it's not to be used as a self boost. You know, you're not supposed to be boosting your self esteem with social media. It's really just for promotion, like getting yourself out there. Yeah, get your name out there. You know, put your stuff out, but don't be so consumed in it. You know what I'm saying? Like when I first started Instagram, I had 3 followers. That was it. I had 3 followers for probably the first like 2 years I had Instagram, and then I really didn't get active until I was in college. Like high school, I was not worried about social media. I was constantly trying to be myself. I was in the band, doing all that stuff. But college has shown me that social media has been truly a curse, for a lot of people. Like people will come to me complaining like, oh, this person, said this, or this person commented this. It's all, it's jitters. Like that's all it is. Like it's literally not real life. You know what I'm saying? We're so tapped into our phones, and this is why I fear for the next generation and the generation after that, because that's what they're going to start with. And that's why as a community, how do we improve the self-esteem and mental health of our younger people? Because that's where they're at right now. You have 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds that are already on social media. So when they see that, their self-esteem is already going down. So now they have to take that back and try to, to raise it and try to do things to themselves, change the way they look and change their personality and change themselves just because someone on the internet told them to. Right. So I think, it's safe to say like people definitely use your social media for promotion and use your social media to, boost your profile, but don't use it to try to change who you are, to, change your heart, change your personality, like constantly make you feel like you're useless, to this world. Like, that's why you got to have that strong sense of self. That's what my dad and my uncles and all my family talk about, is having a strong sense of self and security, to know that nothing is going to break that. Nothing. It's like having basically a bulletproof vest. So have a bulletproof vest over your heart, over your mind, especially, because that's, a lot of people can break that. A lot of people can try to get in your mind, get in your head, try to feed you, negative information, wrong information, try to start drama, be hostile towards your life and your environment. But protecting your peace at all costs, like, that's one of the biggest things that I always emphasize. So definitely protect your peace. Never, stop being yourself. And I think, you said it best, is if you want to, have an impact, make sure that you are doing your best routine, and never change it for someone else. So definitely appreciate you for saying that. And so as we close on this episode, I just want you to leave the audience with, something that you feel like that will transcend their mind. A lot of people, like, it's a mindset thing that I've been seeing with young people and also college students. Like, what is one piece of advice that you would give to college students that can literally help them transcend their mind and allow them to stop letting others, forge their own path?
Reading. Reading is something that I've always been fond of growing up. I remember my mom took away my video games for like 2 weeks, and I was in a dire crisis. I had nothing to do. That was my life. But it was a pivotal moment because I picked up that book. And I started with like the fantasy genres, things that were interesting. But as I matured and in college, there is so much knowledge inside of books. Like they will literally give you the answers to boosting your mentality, altering your perspective in a positive light, spiritually aligning yourself. And like that's my biggest thing. Like I read a book by Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth and the Power of Now, spiritual guidance books, but they're all about aligning your mentality to the present moment and understanding that negative voice inside of your head, that anxiety, anything that deals with the resisting the current present moment isn't good for you. So just tap into yourself. Like take a walk, go outside, take a deep breath, listen to the wind and the leaves. I know it sounds cliche, but like
peaceful.
That aligning yourself with nature, taking a pause from the rush of everyday life is really good for you.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I would say just, be one with yourself and your mind. And like you said, reading, just knowledge is important. It don't matter where you get the knowledge. I mean, as long as it's accredited, but make sure that you are reading something or, proving yourself in some type of way. Because 50 years from now, these things are not going to matter. Books still going to be around. You know why? Because they can't, they can't be burned, can't be killed, but these things are going to be, a detriment to society 50 years from now. So just definitely stay knowledgeable about things. Always allow yourself to be open-minded. I think it's a huge thing. Learning new stuff every day. Pick up on what you don't know. A lot of people live this mindset that they know it all, and that they can't learn something. Be open-minded about stuff. I promise you, this world is full of possibilities that you would never imagine if you just, maybe get out your comfort zone, or get, open that door that you are afraid to open, or even just reach out to this network or community organization that you're, nervous to reach out to. So, and like I said, on a previous episode, like I said, the world is, our oyster, and all we have to do is literally just, walk confidently on top of it. So, but thank you so much for being on this episode, Mr. Baker. I really appreciate you. And for you all listening, we're going to be tapping in more into spiritual health for the rest of season 3 and also season 4. I'm going to have some exciting stuff coming up. And if you want to shout out, your clothing brand and all the other stuff.
Yeah. So I'd love to connect with y'all on social media. My main page is Trey from the 3. That's Trey from the 3. And my art page is linked through there. It's called Covert Artist, COVRT. But I post a lot of stuff on my main page about my creative content. So check me out on there. I'll be releasing my online portfolio soon, so we can talk on there and do some business. But yeah, I would love to hear from y'all. Appreciate you again, Wes, for creating this platform for our students.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll see y'all on the next episode.